So I knew Nana Kwesi because he came to work in the same chambers as me. He came there as a young lawyer. And so that's where the connection is. And around the time, I was keenly aware of the problems in the system. And being in a think tank, being an analyst, I was actually part of those who were explaining why we were having all those problems. And it boiled down to one thing: it was bad governance. And what Nana Kwesi did was to put out a call that people should speak up to power concerning all the things that were going on. I observed it for a few days, but every day I looked at it, it seemed to me as if this is something I must, help with. I must put my weight behind. So one of those days, Akwesi called me and said, "Oh, Mr. Bentel, I want to do this, and I want you to join." I told him, okay, I'll call him back. And I did, I think, after a day. What he didn't know was I was thinking of it anyway. And it was very good that somebody had decided to take action. People like me were already active, on radio, TV, doing the analysis and criticizing and explaining everything. But I was very much dissatisfied with that because it did its job, but it lacked the bite of really going out and letting them know that we really mean business with all the stuff we're saying. It's easy to ignore an analyst. It's easy to ignore, somebody who is speaking on radio and asking for things. But when you put feet on the street, it's more difficult to ignore. So I was thinking, what can we do? And as Imani, we were not necessarily cut out for that stuff, the feet on the street thing. But when Nana put himself out to lead this, I felt this is what we must support. So I called him back and I gave him my full support. And the week to the actual event, I put it out on my Facebook. I called my friends and I urged everybody I knew to come out so that we can put some, action behind the words that we've been speaking really for years. And on that day, we were not sure how it was going to go. But the few of us who had committed to do this were determined to do it, even if we were only 3. And that's why we came there. And I personally was expecting the worst, so we all came prepared, but it was for Ghana. I mean, like many people have said, it was a predominantly middle class crowd. There were people who were not middle class, lower, than middle class. So that thing, we must deal with it. But it was also very important that predominantly it was a crowd of people who could get by even in difficult times. But these people felt that it was not enough for us to have private solutions to public problems. It is not enough for you to buy 4x4 because there are potholes. It's not enough for you to have polytanks and water pumps to solve your water problem. It's not enough for you to take your kids to a private school because the public school system is not working. It's not enough for you to buy a generator because the public, electricity system is not working. We needed to get beyond our private solutions and go out and do something that will make a change in this country and tell our leaders that they need to run this place well and stop a situation where people have to find their own arrangements and their own ways of getting by simply because things are not working, which is also because, the system was not being run well. Politicians were just taking care of themselves and people had just been left to their own, devices. And it was very, very, very important to me that people who could find all these other ways of solving their problems came out, risked themselves, braved the rain, marched for a very long stretch, and forced the issue. I do believe that Occupy Flagstaff House was the point where we were able to bring real weight to the concerns we had and the complaints we had. And people galvanized around that, and it became the beginning of the end for the incompetence that we were seeing at that time. I believe it was the start of many things. Things like Occupy, Ghana, things like, the Doom Summer Stop. It was the same group that organized Doom Summer Stop. And subsequently a lot of the activism that you've seen, including actions in the court leading to the right to information, leading to what has happened right now with even the Attorney General, the Auditor General, and a couple of other things. That was the event that brought people together, and focused our resistance to bad governance. And I think that will go on from there.